right now with the boat dedication.
Yep, so if you wouldn't mind, please welcome to the stage Mickey Plunkett with USGS and also Jamie Crawford with MDEQ.
I'm Mickey Plunkett. I'm with the U.S. Geological Survey here in Jackson. Our office out on Airport Road. And we're here today to pay tribute to the guy that was actually my first supervisor when I graduated from Mississippi State back in 1980, Ernie Boswell. I'm going to start the story with about Ernest at East Central Junior College, where he met Rebecca, and I'm going to tell a little bit more of that story in a few minutes. He graduated from East Central in 1941 as the war in Europe was really heating up. Like my own father, Ernie was a member of what has come to be known as the greatest generation. And like most men of that generation, he spent his early adult years in the military. What he thought was going to be a one-year stint with the National Guard unit at Decatur turned into about 6 years in a field artillery unit, World War II. And somewhere in the midst of that, he found the time to get married and start a family. When the Army finally let go of him in 1946, one of his fellow officers offered to hire him into the family steel business if he would get a degree in metallurgy. And since that wasn't available in Mississippi, he went to the University of Alabama. But while taking a course in geology, he found his true calling and switched his major. So when he graduated with his geology degree, somebody in the oil business told him that he could make an extra $100 a month if he would get his master's degree. And that being a lot of money, he decided to stay on and get his master's degree. When he finished in 1949, wouldn't you know it, the bottom had dropped out of the oil business and nobody was hiring. So fortunately for us, somebody introduced him to Andy Anderson, who was the district chief of the U.S. Geological Survey at the time. And he began his career with the USGS as an engineering technician. The Army came calling again in 1950 and pulled him back into service with an artillery unit in the Korean conflict. And they kept him for a couple of years. And we returned to the USGS in 1952 as a hydraulic engineer, doing surface water work for a little over a year, and then he switched his focus to groundwater, where he became, where he earned his real reputation. Ernie became a nationally recognized expert based on his groundbreaking work on the geology and geohydrology of the area known as the Mississippi Embayment. Now, I'm a surface water hydrologist, so I know just enough about groundwater to get myself in trouble and have somebody tell me what all mistakes I made when I was done. But I can say with certainty that the geologic formations of the Mississippi Embayment provide the vast majority of all the water that supports this region of the country, whether it's the water you drink or cook with, the water needed for industrial production, or the irrigation water that allows our delta to be one of the most productive agricultural regions on the planet. Virtually all of it comes from the geologic formations of the Mississippi Embayment. It's probably safe to say that no individual has done more to advance our understanding of that enormously important resource than Ernest H. Boswell. The impact he had and the respect that he had earned was recognized in 1983 when James Watt, the Secretary of the Interior, presented Ernie with the Department of Interior Meritorious Service Award, and I want to read part of the citation that went with that award. Few people in the southeastern United States have influenced comprehensive decisions concerning groundwater development when it has occurred as a virtually untapped source of freshwater resources in the area as significantly as has Ernest H. Boswell. An expert in the definition of aquifer systems, Mr. Boswell is recognized nationally primarily for his knowledge of the complex hydrology and geology of the Mississippi Embayment, a groundwater reserve stretching from the Gulf Coast to the coal regions of southwestern Virginia. His early definitive work in documenting, analyzing, and describing the Cretaceous, Tertiary, and Quaternary aquifers, those are words y'all don't use very often, in Mississippi Embayment is widely respected and is the benchmark for subsequent geologic and hydrologic investigative work in the region. His consultative services throughout the South have influenced major studies on water supply, coal hydrology, waste disposal, recreational water use, and several regional aquifer system programs. His pioneering work on groundwater systems is documented in more than 30 reports and papers that has established his position as principal representative of the Geological Survey to major state, local, and other federal agency cooperating officials. The activities of several local professional societies and his personal involvement as a major chief in the development of hydrologists and hydrologist and hydrogeologist are a tribute to his managerial and supervisory excellence. For his exceptional contributions to the field of basic groundwater hydrology, Ernest H. Boswell is granted the Meritorious Service Award of the Department of Interior. Ernie ended his 36-year career with the USGS when he retired in 1986, but his public service wasn't over yet. He joined the staff of the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, and I want to introduce Jamie Crawford, who's going to provide some comments about that portion of it.
Thanks, Mickey. Appreciate the opportunity. As we gather today beside this imposing body of water, we cannot help but be reminded of how truly blessed we are to have an abundance of water resources in our state. What most folks do not realize is that we are so reliant on our groundwater resources, which furnish over 90% of the state's drinking water supply. Thankfully, we know a great deal about those water resources. Much of the credit for this knowledge should be given to a select group of individuals who worked for the U.S. Geological Survey and laid a wonderful groundwork for those of us who follow. However, I think most of us will readily admit that the principal cornerstone in the foundation of groundwater knowledge in Mississippi was Ernie Boswell. If one's accomplishments in life are based solely on their personal bibliography, then the number of publications attributed to Mr. Boswell during his USGS career would qualify him as a rousing success. But all of us Boswell disciples can attest his legacy entails so much more. After his illustrious career at the USGS, we were extremely fortunate to have Mr. Boswell come to work at the Department of Environmental Quality for a number of years, where he continued mentoring young professionals working to investigate and advance our understanding of groundwater resources in the state. Those of us who had the privilege of working with him during this time were in awe of his vast knowledge, fascinated by his keen sense of, or his keen interest in groundwater hydrology, and appreciative of the routine zingers spouted by possibly the quickest wit most of us had ever encountered. Mr. Boswell was like our grandfather, who always kept us on our toes, but was always willing to listen to us and provide us wonderful information and steer us in the right direction. One of my fondest memories of him was him showing me some groundwater information on a well outside of Hattiesburg. And after he had explained so much of the information and the hydrology to me and so forth, he looked up at me with that wonderful look on his face and he said, "You know, this is why it's still fun." Now folks, to me that tells you so much about the man. There in the twilight years of his life, he still found his chosen discipline interesting and challenging. All of us should be so fortunate. As I thought about Mr. Boswell and the dedication of this boat, I remembered an example of his sense of humor. Years ago, Charles Branch, the former head of the Office of Land and Water Resources, walked into our old break room at work and announced that his title had been changed, that from henceforth he should be referred to as Office Head. Without any hesitation, Mr. Boswell asked, "Do you mean that in the literal sense or the nautical sense?" Let me state in the literal sense that it is so appropriate to be honoring one of Mississippi's true water icons today with this dedication. I'm certain Mr. Boswell would be quite pleased and extremely honored by this ceremony. I know all of us who had the privilege of working with the man are appreciative of this recognition for a job so well done. It is my hope that this boat, the E.H. Boswell, may have as long and fruitful voyage as its namesake. Thank you very much.
Having finished I guess the technical history of Ernie, I want to share a little bit let you know a little bit more about him if you weren't fortunate enough to know him. I started my own career here at the USGS as an 18-year-old freshman engineering student 37 years ago, and I can testify that Mr. Boswell was a pretty intimidating figure around the office. He was the biggest guy in the building, and he was pretty good at playing the role of the ogre. But it didn't take long to figure out that it was pretty much just an act. Ernie had a great sense of humor, and as Jamie had testified, a quick wit. As long as you worked hard and didn't take yourself too serious, he was pretty easy to get along with. I like to clown around as much as anybody, and I was always impressed with how quickly Ernie could generate a witty response to an ongoing conversation. Sometimes I think he even caught himself off guard with how quick something would come out of his mouth. Excuse me. I remember one event. It was at a retirement dinner for Jerry Parker, who was the district chief at the time, and had a well-earned reputation as a demanding boss. There was a group of the girls in the office had put together a little sort of a comedy song and dance routine for Jerry, and then it was Ernie's turn to speak. And as Ernie was stepping up to the podium, Jerry said, "Are you going to dance too?" And without a second of hesitation, Ernie turned and said, "No, sir, I've danced for you for the last time." And I don't know that Ernie ever worked so hard to keep from laughing at his own joke, but there was no holding it back. That was funny right there. I don't care who you are. Anyway, most people know if you look behind a successful man, you'll probably find an outstanding woman. And that is certainly the case with Ernie. Rebecca Boswell is here with most of her clan, and I'd like to invite her up on stage now for the remainder of the presentation. As she's coming up, I promise to tell you a little bit more about the East Central Junior College story. So I hope, since Rebecca gave this to me, I hope she won't mind that I'm sharing it with you. And it'll help you understand that Ernie doesn't deserve all the credit for her success. She gave me a little bit about the, as she titled it, a short bio of EHB pre-USGS, just because I like to remember. And so here's her story about her first Boswell sighting. We met at East Central Junior College, he a sophomore, I a freshman. I was talking to a sophomore from my hometown and saw Boswell walking across the campus with a faculty member's child on his shoulders and asked who he was. My friend said, "That's the smartest fellow you'll ever meet. He reads something once and knows it forever." I thought, he's tall, he's good looking, he likes kids, and he's smart. He never had a chance. So I think that tells you a lot about the spirit of Rebecca and the partnership they had for so many years. I want to say to Rebecca, first to apologize for taking so long to get around to this occasion. I can't remember how long ago it was that I walked Becky out and showed her our new boat, we were so proud of, and said, I think I'd like to name this after Ernie, if you think that'd be okay. And she, of course, said it would, and then I spent the next forever waiting for an occasion that would work out right, and I apologize for how long that took, but I'm glad we made it. I want to say a little bit about the boat itself, and about me getting the last laugh on Ernie. The boat represents about a $150,000 investment that the USGS has made so that we can do work, and so that our staff can do work on a safe platform in areas like the Mississippi Sound, offshore, and on the Mississippi River, where if you're in anything smaller than that, you're in a dangerous situation. And so it's a sort of an investment that we made so that we would be able to meet the needs of Mississippi and the area out in open water situations beyond the rivers and streams that fall within Mississippi. And the reason I mentioned getting the last laugh, Ernie, he only spent about 1 year early in his career doing surface water work, and then he switched to groundwater, and he couldn't wait for the next opportunity to let a surface water hydrologist know that he spent 1 year in surface water and found that he had mastered everything there was to know about it and had gotten bored, and then he switched to groundwater for the rest of his career. So I think it's fitting that he will be known, at least in part, for a boat that's on surface water for the years to come. Because I used to kid him that as far as I was concerned, groundwater was absolutely useless until you turned it into surface water. Then you could swim in it, drink in it, drink it, cook in it, whatever. I don't know that I ever won that battle while he was around. But anyway, so this is my attempt to get one over on her. Rebecca, I want to give you this a certificate of dedication. And it says on this, the 16th day of April 2011, the U.S. Geological Survey Mississippi Water Science Center dedicates and names the research vessel E.H. Boswell in memory of Mr. Ernest H. Boswell. Mr. Ernest H. Boswell devoted 43 years to federal service, which included U.S. Army service during World War II and the Korean conflict, in addition to his outstanding career with the U.S. Geological Survey, which spanned more than 35 years. After retirement from federal service, Mr. Boswell spent several years as the lead groundwater hydrologist for the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, Office of Land and Water Resources. Mr. Boswell is widely recognized as one of the nation's premier groundwater scientists for his extensive work defining the geohydrology of the Mississippi Basin.